Much, Susan. So our next speaker is someone that I know very well, Lucia Mercer. Many of you know that for 17 years we've done week-long residential retreats for adults with cancer. So for 7 days we have 8 people come and stay with us, and they have food lovingly prepared, vegetarian food. We have a therapist there, so they have 2.5 hours of group every day. They have a massage 3 times during the week by gifted massage therapist. We do art and creativity, a number of other things. So Lucia is one of the healers who has worked with us on our retreats for at least a decade or more. And I will simply say you have her bio, but besides being a massage therapist and a gifted healer, for me, I've worked with many healers. Lucia is the real deal. She's one of the most profound healers I personally have ever worked with. She is an alchemist of the body. She is trained in so many different modalities that she will find and fix or help you live with, if need be, whatever's going on in your body. She's also a shamanic practitioner of many years, and just an extraordinary person. So I'm very pleased to welcome Lucia.
Hi. All right, staying in one place and speaking into this thing. You guys are going to be watching an alchemical process right here before your very eyes. I'll change this height a little bit. So I'm curious about who you all are. And hopefully, we sitting up here will get a feel for who you are and what you're wanting from us. But I'll spew a little bit. This is a difficult forum for me. I tend to work one-on-one. So having lots of faces rather than just one face is an alchemical journey. I love what I do, and I love the alchemical piece. And while you were doing your slideshow and as you were talking, my mind was just pinging off so many points of conversation that I would love us to have here. One of the things I found myself doing is looking at this list of vessels. And as a body worker, I love that vessel is the first word and body is the last word. And as I kind of drew them together, I ended up sort of making a bowl that contains all the others, which is what I think you all are doing here tonight as you begin on this journey. I didn't get much direct, and what I do is meet people where they are, and I meet people from where I am, and any given day I'm a different person. Any given day I'll see the same person that I've seen for 10 years or more, and they're a different person. So I love the unknown. I love sitting in what's coming next that we can't know about each other. And how do we rely on the bits and pieces that we do know so that we can go into the mystery of what might be next for us? People come to me for a variety of reasons. Some people now come to me because I work adjunctively with a lot of psychotherapists. And my view of healing is that there's lots of ways we heal, and once we can get back into our own vessel, then we really have a vehicle that can help us continue to heal deeper. So we come into this world embodied, and we leave this body behind. And what we do with it sort of along the way is a really deep, joyful, painful, excruciatingly beautiful thing. For some people, it's excruciating only. For other people, it's a mix. I sit with lots of different people that have lots of different ways of being with themselves and their life story. I come to you today on the heels of being with a friend of mine who just died. So I come from that place of the changing of form, and how I watched a dear friend succumb to cancer really quickly, and did what a friend does, which is be present with my own pain and sadness, my own silliness in the face of pain and sadness. And then at the end of her life, I came forward as a body worker with all of my training and could help her. The training is the shamanic training, the training is the bodywork training, the training is going through the AIDS crisis and watching all my friends die of AIDS in the 80s and 90s. So learning how to sit with myself when I don't want to sit in this crucible, and where there's nowhere else I want to be but sitting in this crucible. And so one of the gifts I came in with in my vessel is being able to feel into body, into the midline of us, and feel when someone is in pain, physical or otherwise, and help them carry that load. And as they wiggle free of their body, I can help them find a way to not have the body keep calling them back into their pain, back into that thing that's taking them away from being able to go out wherever that out might be. I don't know. So one of the things that I loved about some of the slides that you showed was the yin and the yang and the balance in between, and this two things, a right and a left side. And on each of those pages of slides, there was this midline, there was this center, there was this point of balance. And so in my tradition as a cranial sacral therapist, we have this midline from head to tail that holds this central nervous system that innervates our whole life. And in my tradition, our deepest healing presence is in there as well. It's called the breath of life. And when egg and sperm come together, and one of your slides showed these two things coming together, sort of branching in and weaving over. So egg and sperm come together, and there's this very primary, ancient energy that goes through and unites the two, and the division happens, the cell division happens, and arises finally this midline of us. So as I was with my friend dying, it was from this place of midline that I sat with her in relationship to her in midline. And how I see people as they leave is there's a river coming through this way and there's a river coming through this way. And I stand on the ground and negotiate whatever we negotiate. And I lost my way with her. I lost my way with her. We did good work, but I realized last week, she died 3 weeks ago, I realized this week that I felt hollow. Like I didn't have my midline. I sort of lost my way. And I was talking to a osteopathic friend of mine last night, and she said the midline in osteopathy is the river Styx. So it's that richness, that division between life and death. So there's such creativity in how we do our life and how we do our healing and how we're present for each other. I love what I do on all the levels that I do it, because I sit in a room and people come to me. I sit with my own life experience and training that since menopause I've mostly forgotten, but my hands know, And they come with their own experience and their own expertise and their deep wisdom of who they are. And together this third thing happens. Whatever that third thing is, I don't know, but it's beautiful and it's raw and it's present. I can't wait to see the creative process coming out of these faces that I look today, and how you all are going to put in your own life experience. You know, we can sit here and talk, and I know there's just a bevy of stories out there waiting to be put into these forms. And I have one thing I want to read. Maybe it's, like you said before, all of us are cracked open. Like each of us starts out as a watertight vessel. And then these things happen. People leave us, or don't love us, or don't get us, or we don't get them, or we lose and fail and hurt one another. And the vessel starts to crack open in places. And I mean, yeah, once the vessel cracks open, the end becomes inevitable. But there is this time between when the crack starts to open up and when we finally fall apart. And it's in that time that we can see one another, because we see out of ourselves through our cracks and into others through theirs. When did we see each other face to face? Not until you saw into my cracks and I saw into yours. Before that, we were just looking at ideas of each other. Like looking at your window shade but never seeing in. But once the vessel cracks, the light can get in. And the light gets out.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Thank you.
Could you just say who wrote that last
Yeah.
quote you read?
Yeah, it's John Green, Green, from Paper Towns. Paper Towns. It's out of a shaman book that I have. It's in the last chapter, and I think the book is The Hollow Bone. I think the name of the book is The Hollow Bone.
So we're going to put the handouts that you have and the other handout and some other things we're going to put online. So if I can get a copy of that, we'll put that online with the name of the book as well. Okay? That's great. Thank you so much, Lucia. And hopefully we'll have a few minutes for question and answers at the end. So I want to introduce Sandra Geller, who is a Jungian analyst and an art therapist. And I'm very excited to hear Sandra speak. I read some things that she wrote and heard about her, but this is our first time together. And I wanted her to be part of this healing panel because of her work as an art therapist and because of her deep and abiding interest in Jungian art, and particularly doing art in the presence of an analyst, and art and aging, all kind of topics that have to do with what we're talking about and with many of us. So I'm very happy to welcome you here, Sandra.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. Thanks, Shanti, and thank you for that call. It felt like something out of the blue that you contacted me, and I thought I was up to here in projects, but the more she talked, the more I felt myself losing ground and coming closer to saying, okay, I'll do it. So here I, pardon? I don't know. Can you hear me? Does it sound?
Doesn't sound like didn't think we turned it off, but
Maybe I did.
maybe it got turned off.
Oh, sorry, it's swap on.
Yeah, it was
No,
off.
now it's on.
I think it was off. Let's try that.
Okay. Now can you hear me? No.
It doesn't sound like it.
Let's try this one.
Do Did you turn that on?
Try that one.
Okay. I can't repeat what I just said. It came from that other place. I wrote down on my paper the alchemical vessel as a metaphor for healing in the arts. And Shanti gave me some structure, but also left the vessel open, so to speak. So I'm going to pull from here and there, and I'd like to give you a little bit of my background to tell you how I come to be an art therapist and a Jungian analyst. And we'll say from the beginning that Jung, it is said that Jung must be experienced to be understood. And I use that a lot in my lectures and workshops. I want people to feel, experience Jung. And I won't be doing an experiential with you tonight. I won't be asking you to do a guided imagery because of the timing, but that's typically how I would work. So you would go away saying, ooh, I have an experience of shadow or of the self or the archetypes, whatever. Okay, I started out as a French major, and I taught French, and then I got married, and my husband of 47 years is sitting back there patiently supporting my habits. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and I've been in private practice for a long, long time and had the pleasure of seeing a couple of my colleagues here, my art therapy therapist colleagues who really are very dear to my heart, and our journeys have crisscrossed for a long time, for several decades. And here we are. They're the artists, and I'm on this side. Through my personal therapy, which I started in my 30s, I often came upon issues that I was dealing with for which I had no words to express myself. I had no words. And even though I didn't think of myself as an artist, I would go home and take pencil and paper and just draw what I was feeling, and then I would take those drawings to my therapy sessions. And after doing this for a couple of years, my therapist at the time said, you know, you should consider the field of art therapy. And I said, what the hell is art therapy? I took an introductory course at NIH, and after the first class, honestly, after the first class, I went to the phone and called the then chair of the department, who was Bernard Levy, and I said, would you consider taking a former French teacher who is a patient in psychodynamically oriented psychotherapy into your training program? And he said, the most important thing you've just said to me is that you're in your own therapy. Put a portfolio together and come see me. You know, and I wasn't an artist, and I was thinking, ugh, you know, portfolio, what? Anyhow, that was a long time ago. My early experiences in art therapy were working with older adults, older adults, and then university students. I worked at GW in the Student Counseling Center for a long time, where I had the opportunity of being therapist to many of the students, the young students, in the art therapy training program at GW. And even in those early years, I met my first Jungian, who was Dr. Edith Wallace. And really, had it not been for Edith, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing at this point in my life. She was sort of an archetypal figure. I always imagine her standing in the woods with a crooked finger saying, "This way to Jungian analysis," you know. And she kept saying, "And when are you going to have your Jungian analysis?" And over again. And at that point, my form of therapy was dance movement therapy. That's what I was doing to continue my own growth and development. But again, as I succumbed to Shanti 10 days ago, I finally succumbed to Edith Wallace and began my Jungian analysis, which, as enamored as I was of art therapy, that's also how enamored I was of my first experiences with Jung and supervision, which led to a desire to train. And I found right away that Jung and art therapy seemed to be a perfect marriage because they're both about the symbolic life. And my background in art therapy was a very rich resource for me as I got deeper and deeper into the Jungian analytic work. So whoever comes to see me at this point in time gets both parts of me. You know, not all of my clients make art in my presence, but many do. And among the things that I do with that I offered to my clients is among the things is sand tray, and I don't know whether all of you are familiar with that or not, and I could answer questions about that a bit later. In fact, I've brought an example of a sand tray. Shanti asked me to speak about some examples from my work. Painting, clay, tissue paper collage, a variety of things like that. And the folks that I have 5 minutes left, oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. How fast can I speak? The idea that the space between us was a very rich and healing space, and that working in this way, almost the way a mother, father operates with an infant, the steady gaze, watching, accepting, not judging, had a definite impact on what was going on. And I wrote my dissertation about this, so I could talk about that for a long time, the sacred space. It's still happening. It's represented over and over and over again in the artwork. I see circles, I see houses, I see the tree as a symbol of the self with its protective crown of leaves. Some very specific and direct comments about, I feel safe, you're the moon, they might say in a drawing. You're the moon and I'm the wanderer on the path. So many experiences of that. I also wanted to say that in terms of what you are all about here, I haven't personally had cancer, but my mother and two of her sisters had colon cancer. My brother had lung cancer. My sister passed away 7 weeks ago from a long illness with lymphoma. And what you said about sitting with and being the guide for or the accompanying other is very deep and touching to me. Some of my clients have had breast cancer, others have had loved ones. I mean, it's in today's world, it's so hard not, if you know someone, that someone doesn't either isn't recovering, hasn't had a family, it's everywhere. And are the arts useful in healing? Absolutely. And can the process of making art be a healing factor? Yes. And can the art process itself become the vessel? And that's one of the things I want to stress, that the art process itself can become the alchemical vessel. You can get lost in painting. You can get lost in sculpting. And the guiding other, if you've done work in therapy or if you're just spiritually inclined enough on your own, can be internalized. And that's a very powerful tool. What else could I say? And do I have 2.5 minutes left? Okay. Let me tell you about a drawing that was made this week. I've seen an Asian woman who is 50 years old for about a year. She's been here for 20 years, and she has, since the day she arrived, felt out of place, not a part of our culture, and has protected herself by being fairly withdrawn. She's very bright, very philosophical, very intellectual. And she has, after a long, long time, I could invite her into the art-making process. Everything she painted was very abstract. And this week we sat at the table together because she entered the office and she said, "I don't know what to say. I don't know how to begin. I don't know what to talk about." And I asked her if she would like to draw. She said yes. She sat down, and in all these months that I've worked with her, I never saw her work like this. She made a small mountain floating in the middle of the page, and next to it was a tiny little house. And next to that was a mighty oak, a giant oak tree. And then the oak was on the banks of a stream, and she said the water here is very pure. And the sun, the sky was all yellow, like a Van Gogh kind of sky with the swirling yellow-orange colors. And then she said, "I'm finished." And I said, and she's laughing and saying, "I feel like I'm in elementary school. I never draw like this." And I said, "Is there a story that goes along with it?" So she told me this story, and she said, there's a small girl who lives in the house, and the mountain and the tree are protecting the house. And there's a stream with very pure water and the warm sun. And I said, "Do you think you could invite the girl to come out?" And that's working with active imagination, to use Jungian terminology. And, she looked hesitant, but she invited the girl to come out. No, the girl was not coming out. She said, "No, she's not coming out." And I said, "Well, why don't you say you can come out, you'll be safe, I'll stay with you, I'll be with you." So she invited her again, and the girl came out. Now, there were no figures in the drawing. So I suggested that she use some of the miniatures from the sand tray, and she got 3 little figures, including a little girl with a ball in the position of, ready to throw the ball. And the girl came out. The girl came out. The house, the 2 protecting others, and so forth. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, all the elements of wholeness are here, and she's coming out. And then I got my book to schedule our next appointment, and she said, "Oh, I wanted to tell you, I'm going to be traveling now for a while." Well, I wonder if it would be okay for me to take a break. I mean, could I come back one day if I want to? She was ending. And I mean, I began to cry. I was just really so surprised. And here was completion in a way. And when she saw me, she said, I've known this for a while, but I just didn't know how to tell you. And I mean, I offer that because I think it's an example, a beautiful example of healing. Something in her became whole enough for her to have the protective others and the pure water and the warm sun, you know, and can I come back one day? So, can I come back one day?
Yes, we hope so. Yes.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? So we'll take just a couple of minutes for questions. Any burning questions here? Thank you so much. What a wonderful sort of conversation here. Any questions for the moment? All right. Let me know if you do. A couple of last thoughts. I know coming in, a number of you said to me, I'm already sort of thinking about my vessel and everything. So I hope we've given you lots more food for thought, stirred things up quite a bit. Just sort of keying off a couple of things here. I want to repeat, the art process itself can become the vessel. Sitting with, I think you said the phrase, for me, sitting with is another phrase for this vessel. Sitting with someone. Just sitting with someone is another phrase for this. The other thing, and this is for me one of the essences of the work that we do here, is a phrase that you said, Lucia, was being in the crucible of suffering. You know, we all find ourselves from time to time in the crucible of suffering in our lives. Everybody. I've not met a person yet who didn't know what that meant. You know, whether it's illness or loss or whatever. And so, for me, the message of the alchemical vessel is that when we find ourselves in suffering, that there is always a way to transform that suffering. We can't always change the circumstances. You know, we make the differentiation. In the work that we do here with people with cancer, we make this clear differentiation going into any program about the difference between curing and healing. So curing from whatever circumstances, whether it's an illness or something else, means you find the source, you take it out of the body, you get rid of it, and you go on to live your life as though you never had that. That's the definition of curing. And usually it's the doctors or some other thing that helps affect that. Healing is something much broader. Healing comes from within, right? Healing can take place physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Healing is a return, as you've heard, I think, from everyone tonight, is in a way a return to wholeness or to being fully who we are. And so healing is a lot of what we're talking about. Curing is not always possible. Sometimes curing is not possible. Healing is always possible. We can heal unto death. In the process of dying, we can find ourselves healing, and often do, if we're fortunate. And so, the healing piece. And so, this piece about understanding that healing is always possible. We can heal relationships. We can heal our understanding of our place in the universe. We can heal our emotions. This is, for me, the alchemical vessel that by sitting with, by finding help, there are agents of healing. There are agents of transformation. Artists are agents of transformation. And so, for me, the concept of the vessel is the understanding that there is always the possibility, always the container in which we can transform that suffering. And in the process of transforming it, we usually become more alive, we become wiser in a way, and we become more fully ourselves through consciousness, by bringing consciousness to that and by getting help. And so, or assistance or sitting with. And so, for me, that's the notion of the vessel. And the vessel can be an outside place, it can be a therapeutic relationship, it can be a group, a sacred circle of safety of group. Even if none of those are available, it can be with consciousness and intention, just the psyche itself. Does that make sense? That everything that's needed in a way is there if we bring that understanding and that consciousness of the possibility of transformation and healing and returning to the source, so to speak. So I want to just ask you all to sit up straight for a moment. Sit with your feet flat on the floor. And we've been listening to these amazing healers. So in a certain sense, we're all in a kind of relaxed state, right? So just sit with your back straight. If you're comfortable, just close your eyes for a moment. Relax your shoulders, your arms. Take a nice deep breath or two. And 2 more breaths. Nice full in through the nose, unless you're congested, and out through the mouth. Ha, like a sigh, relaxing breath. And once again, in through the nose and out, the most relaxing breath. And now just for a moment, be aware of your breath in whatever that means to you, whether it's thinking or visualizing it or sensing and feeling it. Just be aware of your breath coming in, see how far down into your body you feel it, and then coming back up and out. And just travel with your breath in and out. You don't have to do anything. Simply be aware of it or ride on the breath coming in and out. And as you simply be aware of the breath, watching or witnessing the breath, just see whatever comes to mind, whether it's images or thoughts. When I ask you the question for yourself, what needs to be healed? What needs to be healed? And whatever comes neutrally, just accept the thought, the image, the symbol, the color. What needs to be healed in you? And now again, as you're aware of the breath, let's ask ourselves the question, what might that healing look like? What might that healing look like? And again, whatever thoughts or images or pictures or words come to mind, what might that healing look like? And again, one last question as you ride on the breath. What is my alchemical vessel for today? What is my alchemical sacred vessel for healing? What is my vessel for healing? And let's come back to the breath now. Simply be aware of the breath or ride the breath coming in and out. And let's let the breath begin to deepen a little bit more. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and come back into the room. Thank you. So you may have gotten some images, you may not. You may be surprised by the images. You may use them or you may not. This is just a sort of inspiration diving board point into this project. So I just want to thank you all again so much for being part of this project. Brooke, do you have anything you want to say? Great. So the bowls are in the back, and we so look forward to seeing these phenomenal images. Thank you. Thank you again to our panel.